Fintech Chatter TV. Presented by Tier 1 People, leaders in Fintech executive search. Welcome to Fintech Chatter TV show, the show where the Fintech community gathers for a bit of a natter. Today I'm joined by two friends of the podcast, Nickoleides, co-founder of Perla, and Nick Tan, CTO of Monoova. Welcome to the show, chaps.
Thanks, Dexter.
Thanks, Dex.
So we're here just a couple of weeks out from Christmas. What are your plans for Christmas? Got any break planned?
I'm making a break for the Queensland border. All going to plan?
Oh, that's adventurous, way adventurous.
Well, at this stage, I'm making a break for that or trying to kick the kids over the border.
Yeah, well, I got my mum coming out at the end of December with this Omicron thing. I'm just, please, don't change plans. Government, please don't change plans. Nick, what have you got planned?
Small break, but we've got some hectic plans for FY22, so we're back at it first thing in the new year.
Awesome. So tell us a bit more about Perla, Nick.
Yeah, sure. So Pearl is an investing app for everyday people. Our whole focus is helping people reach financial independence.
Awesome. And a bit about Monoova?
So Monoova, our tagline is we make money move. So we're a B2B payment service providing all of the payment rails.
So Nick, we're going to talk about, I guess, 2021, the year that's been. First of all, I guess, we first were introduced, I think it was Udi introduced us like 2018.
Yep.
You just started out. We had a really good chat about what you were trying to do. I think kind of gave you a little bit of advice. 3 years on, where are you at now with Perla? What's been this last year been like for you?
Yeah, I think when we spoke then, we were just some wireframes maybe.
Yeah, I think it was.
And maybe some term sheets with some API providers. But no, we launched...
Pitch deck as well.
Yeah, well, maybe not even a pitch deck. But, I think we launched our MVP this year. So obviously that was a massive thing for us, getting our first genuine third-party customers. And then, the year's had some really fun, challenging growth, which has been good. If we look at the year and you want to know the highlight though, it's actually something that happened very recently. It probably isn't a blip on the radar in terms of growth or whatnot, but we actually got a few of our real customers together for a good old fashioned Q&A panel.
Right.
Which, for most people, myself included, doesn't sound all that exciting. But the cool thing was, we sold out this small event and sold a bunch of tickets online. Seeing this audience who've probably never been to a stodgy Q&A panel before, engage with this topic of money, 24-year-olds, very diverse backgrounds, some casual workers, to see this room and this excitement just around learning and feeling like this is a positive thing to be doing. That was probably one of the most emotional moments I've had in this whole journey. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Nick, in your first year in Fintech, how's it been?
That's good. Baptism of fire, but it's excellent in terms of a scaling, growing company. It's been one of those up and down years. I think we connected earlier in the year. We had a client event, and we had Intersect in Melbourne, and it was kind of thinking 2021 was going to be kind of a normal year, as it were, after 2020. And I think it was 2 days after we came back from Intersect, they had a first couple of cases, and all of a sudden it was back to Teams and Zoom. So the team's been very resilient to switch to that, and we've just been continuing to focus on the scaling the platform and building out new features. So great.
So you taught there 2021. It has been a bit like in some instances, I think it's been a breakout year, but in then others it's been like, here we go again. You kind of all getting a bit fatigued with the lockdown and the teams. How have you found, Nick? How have you found just engaging and trying to launch a business remotely?
Yeah, look, I think that is a challenging thing and a draining thing to do in any scenario.
Yeah.
And we've been lucky. We've been in a space that's been growing. Retail investing, everyone can see that it's been a good time to be in that. And maybe even COVID's helped that. To be honest, it's probably more of a personal reflection for me. We moved a bit out of Sydney in December 2020. We had a 6-month-old child, one of 3. And
you haven't got 3 kids, you know?
Yeah, three kids. 3 kids.
Where you have your first one at 12?
I don't know, the dogs came first, so I'll chuck 2 dogs in there as well. So, I do look back on this year and it is a complete blur. And, my coping mechanism's just been, I don't know if we can plug brands, but a good healthy amount of connoisseur ice cream. And, I'm hanging out for more balance in 2022, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. What have been the kind of challenges for you, Nick, and just kind of adjusting to, because it was Macquarie that you came from, is that right?
Yeah, I was at Macquarie in 2020 and then moving across to Monoova. I've always been hands-on, so it was quite, I suppose, seamless in some degree, but also challenging in terms of the staffing to keep on scaling up. But a good challenge.
I mean, out of all the banks, certainly Macquarie strikes me as probably the most entrepreneurial mindset out of the banks that we got here in Australia. How did you find that helped you in making the transition?
Absolutely. I think it's about making your own case and working through. A lot of my focus was on the team and looking to keep building out the different capabilities. Obviously, within a fintech, there's lots of storming and norming, and then you have to sort of start the scaling side of it, and that does require some, industrialized processes. Yeah. And so bringing that sort of mindset to the table was part of the proposition in terms of making sure that we're focusing on a scaled product.
Right. So when we kind of look back at 2021 from an industry perspective, Nick, and particularly in your space, it's been fascinating. There's been so much happening. We've had Robinhood, GameStop. People have gone crazy for crypto, meme stocks, meme coins. What's your take on the kind of the wealth SIP space, and what do you think has been the highlight for 2021?
Yeah, I think certainly from our business perspective, where we started off with a pretty simple aim, which was to be at the absolute other end of the spectrum to all of that. So I mean,
right.
We get questions every now and then, maybe let's just say from a regulatory perspective, whether it's okay, but we try to push the platform, the experience and the community around boring investing. So, we look at what's going on. It's fantastic. It draws attention. It creates conversation, which is all good.
Yeah.
And, we're very happily sticking to our knitting, which is at the boring end of the spectrum. And we just think that, for most people, that's probably going to have more longevity. As a 20-something-year-old, I lost money on stupid stocks.
Yeah.
So we think probably that churn out of trading and whatnot happens a bit quicker these days, and hopefully they end up with Perla.
Yeah. What do you think is the kind of biggest, you talked there about the regulators, what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for the industry going into 2022?
Yeah, I think that, there's been a huge amount of new entrants, lots of marketing budgets, lots of focus on price. And all of those things are great for the consumer. They create more competition. They don't always drive innovation because it's often easier, I think, to spend money on marketing and dropping prices than actually making a better product.
Yeah.
So for us, the hardest thing for us is going to be being patient, investing in the platform, investing in the product, even if that means there are some bumpy roads in the medium and short term. That's for us is about just staying focused, listening to our customers, also having good capital partners.
Yeah.
That believe that retail investing is more than just what happens in the next, mini cycle, whatever that cycle happens to be. So for us, it's about, being patient, doing good work, and hopefully keeping people engaged in a longer term conversation about money. I
want to put you on the spot. So before we started the recording, when I introduced you to Nick, you mentioned that you've actually downloaded the Perla app and you maybe need to use it a bit more. What's kind of your advice to Nick from a cohort that, let's face it, right, we're two of the shiniest heads in fintech, right? Probably not his target audience, but what would you say is, your take on the investment space and from a consumer perspective, where do you think it should head in 2022?
I think Nick's, on the bow wave of this change where people want to be more in control. So if you think about, say, self-managed super fund, it seemed a little bit unreachable. You had to be quite structured about it. And so by providing some of those features into more of an app type of thing, right, you're joining the app marketplace that's much more approachable for that demographic. It's much more what they're comfortable with. So, and it breaks through those barriers and simplifies the process. So I think that's absolutely where people want to be. And all of those things you mentioned about the different stocks or people talking about it on Reddit and then taking action is all around people wanting to be a little bit more in control in these uncontrollable times. So I think it's the right place, the right times.
Feels like fundamentals have just gone out the window as well. And, you're better off looking at Twitter to see whether a stock's going to increase in value or not.
Or not looking at all.
Yeah. But I guess what your plan is, right? If you want to kind of get in, get out and make a fast buck, it's high risk, but we're seeing some incredible returns, right? I mean, it's just insane. Reminds me very much of the boiler room or when I read the Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah, I mean, despicable. Yeah, it was awful. I read this book and I wanted to just.
But I think awareness brings education, and that, as I said, so that does, people might put some aside to have a little bit of a play rather than going down to the RSL and putting it into the Cleopatra machine. Yeah. But at the same time, if they're putting a little bit aside each week, and the whole bucket mentality, and there's an approachable app for that, then it makes it much more easier.
One of the things that really struck me is when I looked at the rise of the crypto market, and I participate in it. I'm a little bit more than an enthusiast, but when I look at how it's increased in value, I think you can almost correlate that dollar to dollar for the amount of government stimulus that's been pumped into the market in the last 18 months to 2 years. It's we're starting to see kind of real volatility in it now. What's your take on crypto, Nick? Are you participating at all? I know Monoova has quite a lot of crypto clients.
Personally in the market as well. I wouldn't say I'm a whale. I'm probably quite a tadpole, but making sure. And I think part of it is it helps you be aware of the tools of the trade and how the market's moving, and so you can have those conversations around our client demographics as well. So certainly one of the customers we have, it goes down to one of our sweet spots providing sort of more real-time movement of money. And so as people want to make more decisions, and you've got markets that are now 24/7. This latest sell-off, had a friend of mine that we're kind of calling a bit of a T-Rex in the investing world, and he made a joke that he'd make a move when the crypto markets opened on Monday. That was his quip about how he was kind of.
Well, thankfully I didn't look at even open my laptop or look at the news or anything, or look at my account over the last weekend and few days. And so it's only down about 10% rather than the 30% it would have been, I think, on Monday. It's been I guess for the industry itself here in Oz, it's been what I would say is another breakthrough year. It was meant to happen this week. It's been delayed, but we've got the Afterpay scare or block that they're now known. When you kind of look at the position that you're in as a founder, where do you draw inspiration from for you to kind of keep going and pushing through those hurdles and to take it from a wireframe to getting investors to that highlight that you had of engaging with real customers?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a deeply personal thing for everybody, and it probably changes. I think the thing that drives us, me personally, I probably could say the whole team now, is the idea that in this 2021, we've proven that however small, there's a group of people who love what we're doing. And so what drives us now is this idea that, well, if we play it smart and we stay aggressive, then maybe that small group of people can be a very large group of people. Whereas 9 months ago, what drove me was probably more around, we've been tinkering and working on an idea for 18 months, 2 years.
Yeah.
Are we going to get one customer?
Yeah.
And so that evolution is really quite interesting to even reflect on as a person in such a small amount of time. Now, we haven't made it by any means. We are a tiny blip in the ocean. Even with the new challenges out there, we've raised, maybe 5% of what they've raised in the last 6 to 9 months. We'll make some moves that'll probably happen very soon, but still, our MO is going to be continue just to, be sustainable, do it ourselves, and be there when we feel that, that our product is really ready.
Yeah. Talking to Christian at Monoova and interviewing him for the Finnies podcast. And it's just phenomenal growth that the business has had in the last 12, 18 months. I think something like 25x growth, customers, volume. As CTO, mate, how do you handle those scale challenges when you're going through that type of growth?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, people, I think there's one famous saying around building the aeroplane and when you take off over the waterfall on the way down. But certainly I talk about two things. One is that sort of production's our number one feature, so we need to keep things going. And then, working off a great, I suppose, baseline architecture to scale out. So, there's going to be some additional changes we're making, and it's one of those things, kind of leapfrog.
Yeah.
Stable at base camp, as it were, and then sort of jump up to the next level, sort of put in your tie line, and then keep going from there. So.
Got any words of advice for Nick, things that he should kind of be, thinking of in the future? Is there anything that for you as a, hey, here's where I've screwed up in the past and it really had an impact, and this is what you're going to focus on before anything else?
I mean, every system is different and may have different areas. So, I think the different blocking points or Q theory definitely comes to the fore. So it's just maths at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So you have to watch out for that. I think for startups these days, the power of the cloud, and it might be a little bit blasé, but with sort of pure cloud plus the ecosystem of SaaS providers that we can draw on, you can definitely orchestrate an enterprise scale footprint that has the right capabilities, scalability, and compliance, because we are in obviously financial services as the big players. So it's very refreshing to be able to partner with those people.
Yeah, we've looked obviously at a range of payment solutions, and my question to you, something we've seen in that space, obviously there's a lot of competition, and similar to our space where there's a lot of players really just using price as the tool, price as the growth tool. How do you think about that from a B2B perspective, balancing, I guess, building a better product and knowing that there might be inferior products out there that are willing to be much cheaper? And how do you grow sustainably in that environment?
Well, yeah, certainly we focus on innovation. So, things like our Auto Matcher product, where we can issue out a number of pay IDs for your clients and help with the automated reconciliation side of it. So there's all these extras on top of the standard payment rails. I think in this year, certainly off the back of MPP, where the real-time nature of payments and working capital for companies and wanting to get that ability to execute straight away has been something we've sort of stood on the shoulders of. So as that system growth has grown. But the interesting inflection point I've seen is that personally people don't take a lot of time to get a pay ID. It's sometimes, the MPP hasn't done obviously the best to get that notion across. I had a conversation with someone the other day and they were more familiar with BMIT that came out of CBA and sort of pay ID, right? But because we've enabled that within the provisioning process for a business, it becomes something that the customer doesn't have to think about, but they get the capability straight away. And then that's kind of the key thing to work on the features. And so the next piece we're working on for Pay 2 is around this payment mandate. So it's a replacement for direct debit and really putting the power into people. The government's going to provide that two-sided marketplace by mandating that the big four banks need to accept payment mandates by mid-next year. And so we're focusing on the business side of that to provide the tools to businesses to be able to do that. I saw a great meme where when Britney Spears came out of her conservatorship, rather than talking about that, they made this meme and said that she was filing out of her Fitness First contract, which is the big thing, trope around direct debit, right? You can never get out of it. How do I contact someone? So the digitization of that into Pay 2 is going to be a dramatic change. We want to be at the forefront of that.
So you've kept a pretty low profile with Perla in the last few years that we've known each other, not being out there shouting and making a lot of noise. What have you, why has that been the approach for you, and kind of what do you think of, the approach that some businesses take where they just go out and create as much noise as possible, but maybe don't deliver on the product?
Yeah, I mean, certainly from a team perspective, maybe we're just a little bit conservative, but I think, or maybe just crappy salespeople. I don't know. I mean, of course you'd love to be.
Look, there's no selling now, right? Like, people have so much choice. I just think that the word sales, it's irrelevant, right?
Yeah. I mean, up until 9 months ago, we were 4 people. Now we're 12. And so you just have to triage. And for us, PR and competitions and different things just never really felt like a good use of time.
Yeah.
But I would say if it's there, grab it.
Yeah.
And it's not all shallow stuff. I mean, there's some great things. There's great organizations, particularly in the fintech space, that are great platforms for brands to be showcasing what they're doing. So I don't say that we didn't do it because we didn't want to, or, too shy. Hopefully we do get our name out there.
Yeah.
But for us, maybe for me personally, coming from a institutional corporate finance background, maybe we just want to try and actually do something first, because we're not pitching, a very typical path in retail share investing, right? For us, getting people to believe the idea that you could pitch a boring, automatable, ETF-focused share trading platform. Even now, we don't have a tagline that we love.
Yeah.
So it's a work in progress.
Yeah. One of the things and one of the reasons why I want to get you both on the show is that personal frustration of mine is, if I want to invest in anything, it's a kind of 5-day process, right? Just it drives me insane that I've got money sitting there and you can miss out on particularly the speed that the market moves now, right? If you do want to play that high risk game of a meme stock, shifting my money out from a bank account into a Perla account or whatever it may be, it's at least 24 hours before you can make that. On something like the GameStop, kind of play, that's it. You missed maybe 3 times the amount that you could have earned. What do you think is, and I know we're going to be 2022, do you think we're going to see the point where a Monoova partners with a Perla so that Dexter can move his money straight out of his bank account and have it instantly in his Perla account and being able to invest and do what he wants with his money?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's already here. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, not necessarily for Perla Monoova, but I think, there's been a huge amount of progress made on that front. I think the question is, what asset class are you trying to get exposure to?
Yeah.
For a CHESS-sponsored brokerage account, good old-fashioned in your own name, that relies on a broker and the ASX ticking boxes.
Yeah.
So that is always going to take, an inordinate amount of time compared to some other things, right?
Yeah.
Whereas
10 working days.
we've got it down. But I think, there are, if you're that way inclined, there are options out there for you. They may just not be, they're probably not within Perla at this stage.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, I think most of these places must work like two days per week, right? Because 10 working days, 5 weeks later, I'm still waiting.
We need you on the sales team, Dexter, because that's exactly our pitch. Is that I think a lot of the focus on real-time payments has been at the consumer end, which is fine for you sending it, but not at the business end, which is where businesses need to receive it in real time.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of internal business banking systems are actually separate to banks' consumer systems. They're not real time yet. They've been spending all that time, making sure the consumer has all of the sort of bells and whistles. And so there's an enormous underservicing, which is where we're trying to, I suppose, step into the market to provide where businesses do actually want to get real-time payments from customers and then do something. So if they're providing a B2C service, we can be those B2B rails behind that.
Yeah.
So we've got other type of investing platforms. So if you want to do intraday decisions on that, then you can move that money at your choice. And it doesn't have to be investing. Like if you want to move something across to make any sort of payment, purchasing, plane tickets or something like that, trying to organise something. People don't have a lot of patience these days. They want to make decisions, get in, get out, get on with their lives. So it's definitely where the focus of payments needs to be.
Maybe though, share investing is a time where you should just wait that 24 hours, 48, be really sure.
Yeah, but if you kind of, the option is, do I go to the RSL and go to the Clearparra machine? Which, let's face it, right? They are both the same thing, right? They are both exactly the same thing. Just one doesn't have flashing lights, right? Yeah. And you look at the success of Robinhood, they've taken the pokey and put it onto the onto the smartphone. So I think, look, it's and I think that's the beauty though of what we've got now, right? Big fan of what you guys are doing. Big fan of what Chris is doing at Stockspot. I've taken some risky assets, but then you've got a really well balanced portfolio that Stockspot offers. That if I can still get a return on that, and it minimizes perhaps any losses that I get in the high risk stuff, which is great, right? And
I think that's where that's where we like to think it's not a matter of competition these days. It's just that there are these segments in the market, and because switching costs and downloading an app are free.
Yeah.
What we already know about our customers is that they will have their Perla portion, which they're sort of happy for it to tick away, and it will be in a handful of ETFs, not dissimilar to Stockspot. That and they do a great service for people who want that little bit more. So really huge fans of them. And then they'll have 2, 3, maybe a couple more apps in their phone.
Yeah.
One, everyone's taken $10 in Bitcoin from 2 or 3 crypto apps and has a few things going there. And so, that, and then there'll be high interest saver apps that when interest rates, move at some point will become more back in favor. And certainly for our perspective, it's not about being the one investing option. We just believe that you've got to be a competitive app in that wallet. And, for us over time, our goal is to be more of a wealth management tool that might help people move between those apps easier.
Yeah. So we're going to kind of wrap things up. But look, before we do, I was going to ask for, I guess, first of all, the fintech that's impressed you most, obviously, other than your own business in 2021, and what your big prediction is for 2022. So I'll let you go first. Who's been the outstanding fintech for you, Nick?
Oh, I don't know. Does a company like Amber count as a fintech? Energy?
Well, we can give them a big plug because I think I've halved my electricity bill since switching Amber.
It does cause me to run around the house turning lights off when I get that text message. But I'm going to go with them, even if it's all loosely related to fintech. And I'm going to say that not only because I think they're fantastic at what they do, and they've managed to explain a fairly complex thing in a fairly simple way, which we try and draw inspiration from. But I think they've done a really cool thing recently where they've seen this opportunity with PowerShop. I think it is being bought by Shell, and they're just going for the jugular, and I just love it. I just think, go. I mean, if we had the funding and we had the lawyers, we'd probably be doing something similar right now too. Maybe 2022 we'll draw inspiration and do something similar. But
I might have to cut this out actually, because their social media person got in touch with me because I'd responded to a tweet and just somebody in my network, and I just said, hey, we've off that power bill. He said, would you like to do a social media shoot for us? And I was like, I'm an influencer. You'll have to pay me money. And you're getting it for free. So there you go. Who's been your fintech of 2021?
It's probably through a personal contact. So with the consumer data right going live and all of the larger array of players needing to go live this year, Bizza.io was one of the platform players.
Yeah.
Stu Low.
Yeah, no, Stu.
Bootstrapped
hey, Stu.
bootstrapped that from the ground up.
Yep.
I remember him from the Data 61 days. He was kind of getting into the standards work there. Got on with RAB, Regional Australia Bank, as the first ADR and a lot of other players. So just really
Mr.
impressive.
Hale, he's gone to True Layer.
True Layer now, yeah. So it's just really impressive to see.
Hello, Geordie Rob.
Trajectory across there. So, and I think from a RegTech perspective, I call out Frankie One. They're excellent work in the compliance space.
Yeah. And what's your big prediction for 2022?
Oh, I'm an optimist, so I would say partying out of lockdown, no more complications, stock market roaring, everyone feeling wealthy.
Record Series A for Perla.
Oh, you mean for Perla? Yeah.
No. Just predictions.
All
in
of those
general.
things would be good for Perla. So, for us, looking forward to some positivity and everyone having the chance to have a bit of a break, and maybe I can take back some of the time I lost in 2021 and shed a few of the connoisseur pounds.
Yeah, I was just checking myself when I was doing the video shoots, and I was like, wow, COVID has not been kind to you. And what's your prediction for 2022, Nick?
Look, I think there's going to be some really interesting combinations. There's been, in terms of the sector, different combinations of government regulatory changes, new players coming into the market, and some, as I said, for Pay 2 going live next year. So all of those combining into some pretty exciting combinations to come to market.
Awesome. Where can people find out more about Perla and download the app?
Yeah, great. So just perla.com is a good place to start, or find us at Perla HQ on all the socials. That's generally a good way to learn a little bit about what we're about and get a feel day to day as to the topics we're talking to, the things that matter to us.
Awesome. And Nick?
So Monoova.com. We've also got a developer portal. So anyone's interested, you're more than welcome to sign up, start hitting our API to get a feel for what you can do with it. So.
Awesome. And you can find me, Dexter Cousins, on Twitter and LinkedIn. This has been Fintech Chatter TV. No sponsors, no ads. So please support the show by subscribing and giving us a like. Until the next show, keep safe.
Fintech Chatter TV. Presented by Tier 1 People, leaders in fintech executive search.